Hey, White Sox fans, guess what? Southside Sox podcast number 59. And right out of the gate, we have a pet cameo. So I'm going to have to, before even introducing Jacki Krestel, I'm going to have to find out who her fourth in this podcast is.
This is Zoe.
Zoe!
Puppy. Zoe, look here.
I was feeling bad for a second that I would be outnumbered in defending Field of Dreams, but I think Zoe showed up because Zoe said Brett needs a little bit of help. So thank you for showing up. Zoe, stick around, please.
I don't think that was it.
Stick around.
Zoe's on my side.
Just a half hour, Zoe.
No.
Yes. If that didn't let the cat out of the bag, this podcast is devoted to Field of Dreams. Field of Dreams game, which takes place later today in Iowa. We'll debate the merits of that and the merits of the teams playing in it, because the White Sox aren't exactly storming into the Field of Dreams game, not exactly stormtrooping to Iowa. And of course, in the second half of this podcast, we'll discuss the merits of the feature film Field of Dreams. And I do believe I am outnumbered. We'll see if anybody decides to hop on and join. We had some impassioned defenders, I should say defender of the film, in our earlier chat. And I should point out, before I introduce my wonderful guests here for the Field of Dreams podcast, that we're running a ton of Fields of Dreams stuff here today, along with this podcast. We've got Field of Dreams Eats from our sister site, The Eater. And we've got, I believe, a play-by-play coming from another one of our writers, Zach Hayes. And we will have our, what do we call it? Slack chat. Slack chat number 2 is published as well, where there was a robust discussion about Field of Dreams, a little bit of which you're probably going to get live and in person on your podcast right now, because at least one of my guests is very passionate about Field of Dreams. But let's get to it. It is the owner of Zoe, the Wonder Pup, who's here to defend Field of Dreams, Jacki Krestel. Thank you for joining again, Jacki. And it's the feisty one, Colleen Sullivan. Is going to...
That's rude.
She's going to put the hammer down on Field of Dreams. Well, okay. You know, I did not mean to insult with the descriptor. I just know that you're going to come with the heat for Field of Dreams, the feature film. But let's first talk, guys, about the Field of Dreams baseball game that is played. It was scheduled for last year for reasons that are quite obvious. It was not played. Same 2 teams, same channels, same locale, same preposterously high price for tickets. Thoughts about when we first heard there was going to Field of Dreams game being played, or the fact that we're finally here and we won't have to hear about Field of Dreams for much longer?
Thank God. Well, like when they first announced it, I was like, oh, that's really cute. It's a cute idea. It'll be kind of fun and quaint. And then, they obviously didn't play last year. And now in the buildup leading up to it, it's like, tickets are $400. You have to have X zip code to be able to buy them. They're $5,000 on StubHub. And it's like, okay, this isn't fun and cute anymore. And now it's getting kind of weird. So
yeah, when they canceled it last year, clearly fine with that. Don't want to go out there and get COVID. Still don't. That's why I'm not going. But yeah, it is getting where like Tony La Russa's not going to be there. Rodón just went on the IL.
Yeah. I mean, Tony, I would be pretty worried about him wandering into the cornfields and then just not making it back.
Let's be honest, Colleen. I think we all might secretly have been rooting for that. The guy I'm worried about going in the cornfield and not coming back is, as Jacki alluded, Carlos Rodón, who has shoulder fatigue, which is vague enough for the pessimists among us to panic, and vague enough for the optimists to say, oh yeah, he just needs some time. But the truth is, Carlos Rodón in his career has averaged 12 starts a year. He's put in a lot of innings. He's been pushed to the max by Tony La Russa, as all the starters have. Is this a concern going forward with Rodón, who's had a Cy Young quality year, but may simply be out of gas? And can he fill the tank back up in August?
I think he'll be okay. So considering Tony likes to ride the pitchers until like their arms fall off, that's a whole separate thing. But I think we need to remember that not only has Rodón had this big Cy Young season, he's pitching more innings, he's had more starts, all of this stuff. He's also coming off an injury and he's coming off of surgery. So I think it's reasonable for him to have some kind of shoulder tightness or to have dead arm or something like that, and to just need some time to rest it and heal. I'm not that worried about it. I think I would be more worried if it was like a true injury, like he tore something.
That's fair. And Jacki, as I betrayed in the game thread today, I, though normally much more optimistic about things, I think that's fair to say, cynical perhaps, but optimistic.
Yeah.
I count myself as fairly gravely concerned about this. I don't know that we see Rodón back as Rodón this season. And it's frustrating to me to know that maybe there could have been a little bit done about it, particularly as Colleen alluded to, just lighten up, maybe not on Giolito, but maybe on Carlos Rodón, the guy who they had in the bullpen last year. Jacki, what is your level of concern, hope, prayer, and do you foresee Carlos Rodón traveling with the team and just walking straight into the cornfield?
Okay, so it's fair to be pessimistic, right? It's fair because shoulder injuries are major things that that a pitcher would have to deal with. So it's fair to be pessimistic about that and worry about the cornfield. But where you can hang your hat, your little Field of Dreams hat on that you have back there, is that Carlos Rodón has surprised us before, right? So while it's fair to be pessimistic, it's also fair to be optimistic. Like, well, maybe this rest is just what he needs. Rest the arm a little bit, put some ice on it, sit on a beach somewhere, and then come back and let Kopech take a few more innings. Did they say who's gonna fill in his spot while he's gone? I didn't see that today.
We got Lopez apparently in the rotation now.
Raylo.
I mean, the problem with Kopech being the guy to fill in, the way we've all sort of thought, oh yeah, it'll be Kopech. Well, he's got his innings limit. They're babying him to a degree. He certainly can't just come in and slide right in there for those starts. But here's another thing, cynically, but what works out for us is, to be honest, and not that you're going to pitch yourself to death, but Carlos Rodón, this is a salary drive year. This is the contract he's going to get in his career. And he's done enough to this point. He can't pitch the rest of the season, and he's going to get himself a nice contract going forward, even if teams are going to be a little hesitant, like, hold on, we're just getting half a season pitcher. It was a pretty good half season. There is motivation for him to come back strong, smartly, but strong, simply, took it, whether it's the White Sox or another team. And again, that's like a crass, cynical take, but it's also reality. This is his one opportunity to get that Nathan Eovaldi type of contract. So that's maybe a feather in the Sox cap given Rodón, but I guess we're going to see. And I certainly hope that Colleen's take is the one that we have in front of us. And it is just nothing. And I want to believe that. It's just, if it's Lucas Giolito, I'm very willing to believe that. Even though Lucas, as every pitcher, has had significant injuries. Rodón coming right off of injury, being injured his entire career, gassing it up, with 100-mile-an-hour pitches right before he leaves the game. So he's been strong through games. That makes me a little bit more worried. But how about the status of the team in general? These last couple series, not strong. We know that they know that this division to some degree is wrapped up, or they're playing like it. Is there concern about the fact there's a little bit of lackadaisical play? The offense can really disappear at times, sometimes for stretches of more than one game. Concern here early August?
I try not to be concerned this early in the game because we got some time to work with. Is it indicative of a long-term problem? I don't know. That remains to be seen. I try to remain optimistic. The offense certainly has been missing in action more than I care to watch. But and we need our big hitters to be big hitters. And there were some glimpses of that in the crosstown, when we trampled all over them. And so I feel like that's still there. I don't know what the key is to bring it out. Maybe everyone needs to go on the 10-day IL. We'll just have a rotation.
A mini all-star break.
Right.
Yeah, I have to agree with Jacki. Like, I usually don't get concerned this early in the season. Like later in August, going into September, ask me then.
Yeah.
But I have the feeling that they know that they're running away with the division. Like, unless there's some massive collapse and they fall to the bottom of the division, which would be like historic collapse.
Yeah, you better knock on some wood. Find some wood and knock on it. Turn around and spit.
Yeah. I mean, like, truly, unless there is some epic collapse, I think they're phoning it in on the division games. And that's real. That really came across this last series with the Twins, and it came across when they lost to the Royals. Like, it's painful to watch that, but they know that they're winning the division. So I think they're phoning it in, which I think is obviously not okay. The first series back against the Astros, I think, really showed what they can expect in the postseason. They are going to be facing harder teams. They're going to be facing the Astros. They're going to be facing the Padres and the Dodgers and all of these bigger teams. And we need to see them have it together a little more to feel more comfortable about them facing the big teams in the postseason.
I was worried beginning the second half because on paper, before the trade deadline, it looked like it was going to be a really rough road until the start of September when they get a little bit of a breath of fresh air with Pittsburgh and some other teams that weren't really in it. And of course, teams like the Cubs and to some degree the Twins, certainly Cleveland sort of opting out of the season has made the stretch immediately after the All-Star break lighter. But those games are still coming. There are going to be greater challenges, and we'll see. Maybe the White Sox, will be rising to that like they did in the second series against Houston. That is what we want to see. And yeah, I suppose you want to keep a little, gas in the tank too. You don't want to lose games, and they're not fully healthy yet. Luis Robert's still working his way in. Eloy, still, although you wouldn't know it with how he's hitting homers.
I'm less worried about Luis and Eloy than I am about like Yohan Moncada going 0 for 22. Like, that's not great. Yeah. Him going 0 for 22, Anderson not hitting as much, Abreu not hitting as much. Like, it's great that Vaughn is hitting the ball all over the place. It's awesome that Sebi Zavala got 3 home runs in a game, but we still need the bigger guys to like show up.
And the White Sox offense, very decimated by injury, was carried by the rotation the whole first half, really still being carried by the rotation. You start to see cracks like Rodón having to take a rest, even if it is just a couple starts. There's going to be a couple starts at least. Those are cracks. Now, granted, we got a guy. We got Kopech. We got Ronaldo Lopez. Certainly not been bad. I don't know. The vision finally kicked, the LASIK finally kicked in, and now he's chucking like we all hoped he would, more reminiscent of 2018. But they're not that deep. They're not deep at all, in fact. So they cannot afford a single bruise while Rodon's out, because then you start to, not in a division losing circumstance, because in 2005, even when the White Sox flagged in September, they had Cleveland going gangbusters on their tail. I don't see any team in the AL Central going gangbusters until it might be 2023, but at any rate. Predictions for the game. Are you going to watch the game? Do you care about the game? Is it any different than a normal game, or is it going to be more annoying because there'll probably be more commercial breaks and there'll be a bunch of corn stuff and flashbacks to a movie you don't fancy?
So I like the idea of the Field of Dreams game. I'm going to watch it because I just like the idea of it. I think it's really a cute idea. I'm going to watch it. I have class during that time, so I'm going to be watching it on mute. And I think that's going to make it better for me because there's going to be less like Field of Dreams schmaltziness. Like, it's just going to be on mute. I'm going to see everybody in their throwback uniforms, which, by the way, the Yankees throwbacks do not look like throwbacks. They look like they're normal jerseys.
That's because they're so timeless, Colleen.
I was going to say, have the Yankees not updated their uniform in 100 years? Like, that's a whole separate thing.
I really don't think so.
Yeah, I don't think so either. I am really tired of like Ozzy and Chuck wandering around with their phones. Like,
no, that footage of them driving through Iowa was riveting.
About as riveting as the movie Field of Dreams.
Oh my goodness, segue alert.
Well, I would also like to point out, as somebody who has been to the actual Field of Dreams, like as a vacation spot, it's not great. I'm sorry to the people of Iowa. I am sorry to the people of Dyersville. It's a baseball field and a house and corn.
There's a lot of baseball fields everywhere.
I was like, it looks like Southern Illinois.
Yeah.
But that's where the movie was. That's where they filmed the movie. So
yeah, maybe the Yankees should have played as the Highlanders. They could have thrown back a little bit further back than, I don't know, what is this year even supposed to be? Is it supposed to be the 1919 year? Oh, too prescient given all the gambling hovering over our sport. Okay, let's take a quick break. Boy, I don't know if we'll have much time to talk about Field of Dreams, the movie, but we're going to do that right after this break. Stay tuned for our riveting second half, where we discuss Field of Dreams, the feature film.
Woo. Woo.
Hey, White Sox fans, guess what? It is part 2 of the Field of Dreams special double whammy, triple whammy podcast. It is it's 59. I've got Jacki Krestel with me and Wonder Dog. Oh my God, I forgot Wonder Dog's name. Zoe. Oh, I should remember Zoe's name because she. She's on my side. So come on, Zoe, step up. Let's talk Field of Dreams. And of course, Colleen Sullivan with me as well. I believe both Jacki and Colleen might be on the opposite side of the gymnasium, the opposite podium, in discussing Field of Dreams, the movie. So I guess let's begin, my dear guests, just your impressions of the movie, maybe if there was any difference from when you first saw it to now, how it holds up.
Was I supposed to watch it before this? Before
God,
we recorded? Because I definitely did not do that.
No, you're not going to be tortured by having to watch the movie. I'm sure that the terribleness of it is seared into your brain, and you can still readily call it up. Correct, Colleen?
Yeah, it's my dad's favorite movie. We watched it a lot growing up.
Okay, I'm starting to see a little subplot here.
My poor dad. Like, thank God my dad doesn't listen. He doesn't listen to the pod. Like, he doesn't get podcasts. And like, I think this is one of those times where it's like, it's probably good he's not going to listen, because then I'm going to get a phone call.
Yeah.
How do you hate Field of Dreams? Easily, Dad.
So Colleen, then the 1 minute synopsis of Field of Dreams in your eyes.
Oh, I did actually give somebody a synopsis of it today.
Okay.
A coworker of mine who has never seen it, who is from Mexico, so it's not as imprinted in her as it is for us. So my 1 minute synopsis for her was: there is a farmer who is about to lose his farm in the middle of nowhere in Iowa. He goes out into the cornfields, starts hallucinating, and gets told, if you build it, he will come. So then he decides, because this is a really brilliant idea, to plow cornfields and build a baseball diamond for Ghost to play baseball on. That only he can see, by the way, because he believes like Tinkerbell. He then goes on a road trip, kidnaps James Earl Jones, and drags him back to Iowa to give a speech about how great baseball is, and then watch, as somebody on Twitter said, segregated ghost baseball. Kevin Costner
someone else said, like, James Earl Jones wouldn't have been able to play baseball at that point.
Yep. So he had to give this big speech about how wonderful baseball is, and James Earl Jones would not have been allowed to play baseball at that time. And then Father of the Year Kevin Costner, his daughter almost chokes to death, and he decides that we're not going to call the EMTs. We're going to have a magic ghost come out of the cornfield and make her better. And
wait, hold up. I think this ghost can help us.
Yeah, this ghost that only I can see. No wonder, like, I totally understand why his brother-in-law was like, dude, what the fuck? Like, I know his brother-in-law is supposed to be like the villain because he doesn't believe and he thinks that like Kevin Costner's a moron. I don't know, man. I kind of get it. He's like, dude, you're going bankrupt.
Colleen Sullivan on the side of big business in her synopsis of Field of Dreams, released in 1989.
No, I'm on the side of don't get shit foreclosed on. Pay your bills. Pay your bills, Kevin Costner. Pay your bills.
Jacki, I think you lost audio. You seem maybe to be back with us. I'm wondering if Zoe maybe was chewing at the cord in order to make this just a one-on-one with Colleen and I. But your thoughts, perhaps, on the film, if there's anything to fill in there.
So, I should say I don't hate the film. I don't hate it. I don't like it, but I don't hate it. The parts that I like are the baseball bits of it, like when they're playing the games and, where do you think the next pitch is going to be? Well, low and away or in my ear. He's going to go away, but look out for it in your ear. That part's funny.
Sure.
So the baseball bits are the part that I like, but the rest of it just doesn't make any goddamn sense. And so it makes it really hard to follow. Like, oh no, I'm invested in this story. I'm invested. So
let me ask, and again, I we've been having some fun with this. I'm not going to be an impassioned defender of the movie, but the movie is clearly, it's sports fantasy. There's reconciliation themes. Obviously, it's over the top. A lot of movies are, because it's baseball, because it's on a farm, because apparently there's a kidnapping in the movie, that you can't suspend disbelief for that.
He kidnapped Darth Vader.
He just wanted to be left alone.
You know what? Honestly, that's energy I bring to my everyday life. I just want to be left alone.
Yeah, and that's fair. And I mean, obviously, I get it. And I think what is inserted into our Slack cast, which I think came from Colleen, perhaps, where it's like, yeah, he went and he kidnapped a guy, you just want to be left alone, all that. I get it. But before Kevin Costner leaves Boston, James Earl Jones stops him and wants to come along. And guess what? James Earl Jones, the guy who couldn't play the segregated baseball they ended up going to watch, heard the voices too. So I guess it was a double. I'm not sure how you explain they were drinking the same Kool-Aid.
He got to go in the corn.
Yeah.
At the end. It didn't make it.
And then he kidnaps him and then he dies.
Now, do they die? Is that like what it means?
I think so.
Does James Earl Jones has no vote in this? I mean, there's a fake gun point.
No, he voluntarily went.
Yeah, I think
to the corn.
I think it's like you died when you went in the corn, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting.
Is this like cats where they vote the one cat that's supposed to go to whatever, and I'm pretty sure that cat's dead. Did James Earl Jones get volunteered to wander into the corn as the sacrifice to the children of the corn?
I did not.
Is there like overlapping movies here?
I didn't think that Cats was going to work its way into the Field of Dreams discussion, but yeah, I don't know.
But Children of the Corn was going to.
Well,
Cats and Children of the Corn were.
Corn. It's Iowa. Not a lot to do. So, I guess the answer. Okay, go ahead, Jack.
No, I was like, maybe you're headed this way. Like, I want to mention the other bit that, of course, the reason why everyone likes it is that it's a story about fathers and sons told through the lens of baseball. And I think everyone, even as cynical as, I might be or Colleen might be, we can appreciate that to a point here. But we can talk about how all of like the emotional climax of that movie is ruined by the delivery of that line that is regional and doesn't make any goddamn sense to anyone about having a catch instead of playing catch.
Is that even regional? Did we get a vote from anybody in Iowa as to whether or not that's something they
Luke
actually
said
say?
No, but I think
no.
Jacki said it was maybe something Long Island or something. Somebody said it was something more the Northeast.
Let's blame the Yankees.
So consider the source, Yeah.
Let's blame the Yankees.
So let me ask you this. Apparently on my role here is to play devil's advocate. Do either of you like It's a Wonderful Life? And do you see any parallels?
I don't think I've seen it.
Jacki? Oh, so apparently Zoe is still gnawing at the cord because Jacki is occasionally losing some audio. So now I'm forced to confront Colleen with a question about a movie she hasn't seen. But Jacki, I think might be back.
I know how it happens. I know what happens in it. That it exists in the universe.
Yeah, it probably doesn't, apply to you then, Colleen. Jacki, have you seen the movie It's a Wonderful Life, and does it have any resonance when discussing Field of Dreams?
So Colleen, if you haven't seen It's a Wonderful Life, it's about this guy who wants to commit suicide because
didn't know
his
that.
life's in shambles. But then this ghost, this angel, comes down and shows him what life would have been like without him. How does that relate to Field of Dreams? Is he are you saying that the baseball player ghosts are showing Ray Kinsella what his life would have been like had he played catch or had catch with his father?
Well, I think,
or if he had lived in 1919. You know what?
Right.
Actually, I wish they talked more about the Black Sox stuff, because it was a big part of the movie. Like, he, drives his tractor around to make the ballpark, and he tells his daughter about the Black Sox scandal and all, or maybe it was his wife. I don't know.
Joe
He told
Jackson
somebody,
specifically
yeah,
as his
he
father's
was
hero.
telling somebody about all of that, and I feel like they just keep saying Field of Dreams, but they don't talk about anything else. It's just like, oh, this is the Field of Dreams game. Field of Dreams, they're in the corn. It's Iowa. Wonderful. There's other shit that happened in that movie.
So there should have been a scene where the players are forced to somehow cross the line, sit on the bleachers, and be grilled by Kevin Costner and questioned by
No, I
James
mean
Jones.
the Major League Baseball. Talking about.
Oh, I see.
Or
Yeah. Well,
baseball history stuff.
that's a definite issue that is very. Yes, I think it hovers over this game. If we were to pull out of the movie discussion and talk about what in the world we're doing with this, as I'm sure there are going to be banner ads and commercial intrusions, and who knows, maybe even FanDuel carved into the ground, the mound at the Field of Dreams ballpark. The irony of this is, it's positively sickening to me, and it's extremely odd. And in the movie, we're asked to suspend some disbelief, and we're not going to dig into what it is. We just know these guys weren't able to play. It's sort of understood that they're the team that was banned, and there's some other guys like Ty Cobb who want to play, but he's a jerk, so we're not going to let him play. Whatever. Yeah. So
I like that part.
And one thing I'll admit to having a problem with is, of course, and I think everybody does, the fact that Ray Liotta is playing Joe Jackson, a guy who doesn't look anything like Joe Jackson. The character originally in the movie was supposed to be someone who's older, and who Kevin Costner, before actually meeting his father, or before even maybe meeting James Earl Jones, who plays sort of a little bit of an older brother role maybe to him, was supposed to be a bit of a father figure. Ray Liotta obviously is not that. He's just this wide-cracking smartass who comes across as far more intelligent than, to be honest, the real Joe Jackson was. Bats right-handed, as if somehow you couldn't ask Ray Liotta just to swing a bat left-handed and they could do some creative camera.
I did see something about this today, actually, where somebody was complaining about Ray Liotta batting right-handed when Joe Jackson was a lefty. Apparently, Ray Liotta did try to bat lefty, and it didn't look right, or it didn't look natural or something, and they were supposed to fix it in editing, like they were supposed to mirror it somehow when they did it. And I was like, poor Ray Liotta's been getting crapped on for 35 years about this.
Well, that's like the height of 1989 technology, video editing technology.
Was making him look left-handed.
Yeah, it's just odd, because then he's not the guy. Then have him play. I'm not sure if the guy who's barking at the kid Jacki referred to. You prefer to have one in your ear. I'm not sure if that's supposed to be Ed Walsh. I'm not really sure who that's supposed to be. A garrulous pitcher for the White Sox. But then have Liotta play that role. It's not like he was a spitting image of any of the players. It's not like any of these guys were spitting images of anything. They're just a bunch of guys wearing the duds, wearing the flannel. Then have him play another role. I'm not really sure why Ray Liotta was such box office in 1988 filming this movie. That's like, gotta have this guy. Learn about right-handed. It doesn't look authentic.
When did Goodfellas come out?
I was gonna say, when did Goodfellas come out?
Yeah,
1990.
or maybe. I mean, it was right around that time. But okay, come on. You're right.
That's what Wikipedia says. It was 1990. He's
got to get to the. He knows some helicopters are hovering. One thing I thought was interesting that I found, I know this is just a silly movie, I get it, but I did think it was interesting that, referring to special effects, and thankfully there was no Jabba the Hutt just dropped into the middle of the diamond using retroactive CGI technology. But
Watch that movie.
The line of cars at the very end, as the Kinsellas are playing catch, was actually a line of cars from Dyersville. They were told to alternate their lights from bright to regular to make it seem like there was movement. So they actually did. Granted, it's Dyersville, Iowa. Sorry, Luke Smales, and sorry anybody in Iowa, but okay, it's Iowa, so I get how the entire town would come out to be part of this movie. But sort of cool that was authentic. I just always assumed that seeing that was some sort of weird, like, little trailer thing they did. You know, sort of neat. I know I'm grasping here, but it was sort of cool thing.
That is cute. I like that idea.
You know, and I, you know, again, it's, I'm sure been.
And at that point, are they coming to watch Ray Kinsella play catch with his father? That's what they're coming to see? They're not even coming to see the ghost?
No, it's going to be like when I went to the Field of Dreams and there was nothing there. That's what they're going. They're going to see all the nothing.
James Earl
Did
Jones
you play
just,
catch with your father?
James Earl Jones just says.
No, but we did go to the gift. We did go to the gift shop.
And that's really the important thing.
I mean, that's really all that's like, there's not a lot. There's nothing there.
How much did it cost to get in? Was it $20 or was it $500?
No, it was free.
Yeah,
it was free to get in.
And that's just it. Another thing I did read was in the immediate, the guy who owned the farm, in the immediate aftermath of the movie, no charge, like you're confirming here, Colleen. And yes, no real even access. It was just the gift store. And he, you know, in order to maintain things, he just depended on what was coming from the gift store to sort of maintain stuff. Obviously, it's blown up from there for better or worse, but you know, sort of also interesting. They didn't immediately try to say, okay, well, now that they laid this movie out, that people 25 years later are going to scoff. 35 years later,
would people go see it? Go see the Nothing if it wasn't free?
Well, remember, James Earl Jones predicts, and James Earl Jones, as the wise man in this movie, listen, they're all forced to listen to him. He has the rapt attention of all the players who would not have given him rapt attention at the time. It's nice to talk today in a context of today. If you're making the movie today, yeah, I think I mentioned, why not have Josh Gibson be someone who can come out of the cornfield tour? That's not appropriate, because these guys didn't want to play with black players. And that's just what it is. Eddie Collins, the guy who's the hero from the Black Sox, because he was college educated and everybody hated him because he was clean, he was as bad as they come. He's the reason the Boston Red Sox were the last team to integrate. He was the GM of Boston. They didn't have a custodian who was black. So even the good guys here still were like, well, yeah, you stay over there. I know I can't get in the head of Ed Walsh or Joe Jackson, but you know, it's great to say it could be different. I think it's notable that James Earl Jones is the guy, given it couldn't be J.D. Salinger, because J.D. Salinger said, you already put me in the novel and I didn't like it, so I'm definitely not going to be referred to in the movie and have some clown depicting me because I want to be left alone. Anyway, but James Earl Jones said the point is
quite a few different topics here.
Well, James Earl Jones said they will come and they will just hand over their money. And I guess it doesn't really matter what they're going to do. I guess the presumption would be, yes, that even though they're lining up early in the middle of the night, they're going to be here to fill the bleachers for tomorrow's ghost baseball game. I would be the guess I would make.
Imaginary baseball game.
Right. Well, he said that they wouldn't even know why they were getting into their cars or why they were coming to Iowa. And I'm like, well, that tracks.
That supports my guessing theory.
Yeah.
Colleen's Conspiracy Corner. Field of Dreams is just a gas leak fever dream.
Well,
and that's why there was a collective hallucination.
And you could also call it a fantasy movie, a sports fantasy movie. I know there aren't many of them, but this is one. And it's interesting that we have a reaction because it's baseball and because the settings are very real, of sort of being, you know, repulsed by it because it's like it doesn't fit. And I get it. There's a lot of crazy things. I mean, you point out the funny in retrospect scene where the kid's choking on a hot dog. It's like, no, let the ghost save. Well, you were there, Colleen. You're in the middle. There's no EMTs just waiting to descend either. So why not let old Archie try to come and save the kid? I mean, I get it. It is
let's
funny,
let the nothing come save the kid.
Well,
like as far as everybody else, aside from Kevin Costner is concerned, there's nobody there.
But Colleen, the kid was saved. If there's a ghost or not, the kid didn't die. So you could say he's a ghost, but the kid's alive.
Also, their parents didn't know the Heimlich maneuver. Like, you live on a farm and you don't know basic first aid. Like, there's
Andy was
a
on
lot
board.
of.
Andy was like, let's call emergency. Let's do it. And Ray Giselle was like, hold up, because there's this
This
ghost.
ghost is going to help
Well,
out.
listen,
And I think you can help.
Annie was smart and aggressive enough to just still sprint into the friggin' house and make the call. But my point is, I don't think it's invalid. It was going to be a half hour and the kid was going to be dead by the time EMTs show up on a farm in Iowa. Yeah, you're right. It's a little silly that Moonlight Graham is going to save your child after they're having some weird tussle about this farm between Colleen's hero, the evil businessman who wants to foreclose the farm, and my hero, Ray Kinsella, who plowed over under his cornfields because he wanted to build a ballpark. This is a strange movie. There's no doubt about it. And I'm not just trying to say, hey, it's a fantasy movie, so just, be quiet about it. I know it's still goofy. There's no doubt it's goofy.
I think my problem with it is it's schmaltzy. I don't like the schmaltziness of it. And that's also my problem with The Natural, is The Natural gets kind of schmaltzy and unnecessary, and For Love of the Game and all of those types of movies. There's just a little too much.
But it's baseball,
Yeah.
Colleen. Baseball is sort of dumb. I mean,
Baseball is super dumb. I mean, nobody knows what a balk is. So baseball's super dumb, but also like, I don't need the schmaltzy movies.
I won't hold it against you. Go ahead, Jackie.
I want to say in Tim Busfield's defense that although he was the villain of this movie, he redeemed himself in Little Big League.
He did. He was the hero in Little Big League. Oh, that's a good movie. That was also a remake.
Next year we'll go to Minnesota and we'll remake that.
Yes,
And then the Twins have to get a child as their GM.
Oh,
because
they
it can
couldn't
only
do any
help at
worse.
this point.
Manager.
Can't get worse.
Couldn't do any
Not-
worse.
I mean,
Sorry,
Rocco
Twins fans.
Baldelli is the youngest manager in Major League Baseball, so he's kind of a child, I guess.
Maybe his son or daughter could take over for a game or for a season. Yeah, and apparently it's been leaked that the Cubs are playing in Iowa next year. So
Oh, really?
yeah, let's put a pin in this one. I think it's worth mentioning, as we are running short on time, I did do a quick survey of favorite movies from staff, at least according to the Meet the Players answers. Sandlot, which betrays the relative youth of our group, was the winner. 5 votes. Bull Durham, 4 votes. Major League, 3 votes. Field of Dreams, 2+ votes. Moneyball, 2+ votes.
Hold on, where's the 2+?
One.
We don't have half a person on staff.
Somebody like didn't really answer, so I just gave him like third. So 2. Okay, 2. We're not going to divide votes. And Moneyball and Naked Gun. So we've got a
Naked Gun, a
cogent
baseball
group.
movie.
So anyway, I think this wraps up our fielder. I don't know if we necessarily resolved anything, but everyone has had their voices heard. And who knows, when the White Sox play the Cubs next year at the Field of Dreams 2022 in the true fantasy, because there may not even be a season, we will reconvene and talk more about Field of Dreams. But for Colleen Sullivan and Jacki Krestel, thank you. And Wonder Dog Zoe, thank you for joining me for this. And thanks everybody for listening, reading, watching, and we'll be back with more podcasts. Oh, sometime after the Field of Dreams game. Enjoy Iowa, everyone.